All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Blackbird News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? Hopefully y'all can hear me. Oh yeah, it's 9/11. I was, halfway joking. Some of my jokes don't land. I said the other day talking about happy 9/11, but I mean, we celebrate Memorial Day, which is a day to commemorate, people who lost their lives in wars, but we tell people happy Memorial Day. So it's kind of like, okay, 9/11, a very tragic day for several reasons, but, people get a little giddy about, covering it. But it is, somewhat of a national holiday, so it's been so long that we're almost to the point of saying to each other, happy 9/11, which is like, what? Huh? But it's a good day to remember what kind of kooky, crazy system we live in. It's a good day to, I feel like the 9/11 is one of the best examples of blowback, unintended consequences ever, because I think they thought they were going to do it. They obviously thought they were going to do it and get away with it and blame Osama bin Laden, and then everybody would just go super patriotic, and that would be, they make a lot of money conquering the Middle East, and then nobody was going to wonder like, well, why are we doing this? But what happened was everybody got everybody had eyes and ears and brains, and they were like, hold on, none of this makes any sense. None of this looks in any way, shape, or form like the story that they're trying to tell us. Like nothing about this is believable. You had the internet, you had people able to do forensic work on their own. You had the video, the TV video that I was just looking at, the TV video of the plane coming out the other side of the building. Anybody just watching that footage of the, if you watch that footage and you have a logical mind, that piece of footage right there should dispel you of the notion that anything that they told you was the truth. There wasn't a plane, that a plane can't do that. I mean, just the footage of the plane going into the building, it should dispel you. If you have any comprehension of physics on any level, like second grade level physics, if you comprehend physics on the most basic level, watching the film of the plane going into the building should just dispel you of the idea that you actually watched a plane fly into a building. Like if you still believe that, I want you to go look up the idea, the concept of resistance, and go and think very hard about that. Anyways, it's laughable. Like it's laughable. It's also genius how they kind of pulled it off, kind of convinced people that this thing actually happened right in front of their eyes. Well, I watched the buildings come down. Conspiracy theorist, like they actually got people. Yeah, well, a bit. Let's. Can we find it? Can we find the video footage? I was just watching. Hold on, sorry. I mean, I'm sure. I don't know how. Is this the one? Is this the one? I don't know if this is exactly the thing. This is it. Let's see if we can see this. Is this the one? Oh, maybe not. Where is it? Anyways, I'll talk while I try and find this. The footage of the plane, of the nose of the plane going through the building, is ridiculous. There's no way. Again, if you understand the concept of there's no way the nose of the plane would go all the way through. First of all, plane's not going to go all the way through the building. Second of all, the nose is not going to be intact. And so it doesn't really matter if you saw it on TV or not. That didn't happen because it just can't happen. It can't physically happen. So something else happened. Something else happened there. Let's see. Anyways, we're talking about 9/11 as one of the most famous false flags that ever was. But there was a nice false flag yesterday. It looked like something of a the Charlie Kirk thing was just another reenactment of kind of like. All right, let's see if I can find it. Let's see if we can find exactly the video. Where is it? There it is. Is this it? Sorry, guys. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Well, I got other things to play for you, but the plane could never have made it out past the center column. Exactly. Exactly, Gregory. CNN concealed the inconvenient nose out plane with the screen banner. So there was a. Here we go. Here's the original. So this is the actual original footage. And there's a spot where the plane goes all the way through the building. And that is just ridiculous. Hold on. So the plane suddenly comes into the frame. It goes, slices right through the building somehow. No resistance, and comes out the other side. Absolutely ridiculous. So there's that. Yeah, I don't like that Charlie Kirk was shot. I don't. I don't really. Anyways, without getting too deep into the story, but like, I find it disgusting that people are, celebrating him being shot, and then on the other side, like suddenly looking for the, look what the left is doing, right? It's jumping at, trying to start some kind of civil war with the left, and like that seems to be the intent of the whole thing, was to create this like, oh my god. But this is how it works, is to get people real riled up and amped up and excited and mad and pissed off and like, oh, those guys. Consider that maybe Charlie Kirk is either maybe a pawn in a bigger game, or maybe the whole thing didn't happen how we thought it happened at all. So, you could be getting amped up about something that didn't even really occur how you thought it occurred. Kind of like 9/11, but anyways. So some believe both planes didn't exist and it was detonated. Yes, basically. That something else happened to bring the buildings down, but there were this wasn't a plane. There was not a plane, because it's not possible for the plane to slice through the concrete and steal. It's just not possible without the plane like visibly coming apart, the nose, exploding, wings ripping off, all kinds of things should be happening when a plane hits a building, but just slicing through, absolutely not. It's absolutely not. It just defies the laws of physics, and there's no way. So the plane entry, they were saying basically, Ace Baker does a whole bunch of stuff about this, and they basically, they had this set up on the TV cameras. There were, and there were not a lot of shots of this. The important thing is controlled demo, right? On top of the fact that, Building 7 came down, not hit by planes. Larry Silverstein said there was such a loss of life, we had to pull it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So look at this. That's just, two things happening there. Planes slicing through a building can't happen. Second thing, the nose coming out of the building untouched can't happen. It's just absolutely cartoonish. Absolutely cartoonish.
Oh my goodness. Oh God.
And then they faded to black, right, because they realized that there was a mistake there. So they faded to black very quickly. On top of that, consider that the BBC reporter reported that Building 7 fell down like 20 minutes before it happened. So, of course, how did she know that? That's how do we know it was a nose? I don't know. You don't think that looks like the nose of the plane? I mean, it looks like that looks like the nose of the plane coming out of the explosion. To me. And then they look at that. Look at one more time. Whoop. Looks kind of like the nose of the plane. And then when they faded out really quickly, and when they faded back in, it was the plane. The nose was gone. Anyways. And then when CNN, anyways, this goes on and on. We can watch this. September Clues. You can watch this, and CNN covered it up with their banner 6 minutes later when CNN rolled this shot. That was like a local New York station.
As we were watching the live picture here in the studio, we saw a plane crash into the other tower of the World Trade Center. And again, let's just to be sure, there it is. Oh. There it is. The plane went right through
but they covered
the other tower of the World Trade Center.
That is a very hard thing to watch.
Helicopters drift, and there goes your layer mask. Yep. Anyways, so that's one thing I wanted to show you, but it's just absolutely ridiculous. I want to show you some other things. What's interesting is that it has become what I was saying in the very beginning. Oh my goodness, here's another one. Explosion, right? What's interesting is that the unintended consequences from the same thing happened with JFK. I think they thought they were going to assassinate the president, and then people were going to be like shocked and amazed and hurt, and nobody was going to go, but hold on, the whole story doesn't really make any sense, right? That they thought that people just weren't going to think about it, and the consequences of what happened on 9/11 is that a lot of people started to look harder, and what you get is a a din of disbelief. Excuse me. What you get is a din of disbelief to the level where now almost mainstream television, or pretty much mainstream television, actually has people questioning the story around it. However, it's been 24 years. A lot of people have aged out of people's memories. I think people that are responsible are still alive for sure. Maybe not some people, but many are probably still around and can be brought up on charges for their culpability in this. But it's just that they've been able to hold it off for long enough. Now I think that they hope that people will forget about it, stop wanting to talk about it. People will die off. But I think people are questioning it harder than ever. People don't believe the story, and you shouldn't believe the story. And if you don't believe the story, then you have to have questions about why did this happen. And if the questions lead you to logical places, then you have to be like, oh my god, right? And then the question is, well, what are you going to do about it? because the answer to the oh my God question is like, I think pretty obvious. The next question is the question, what are you going to do about it? That's the question. But let's I mean, it's gotten so mainstream that Tucker Carlson is talking about it. I think he released a special today. I might actually go watch it. I don't know, just to see what he has to say about it. Because I'm interested. But I mean, he was an original like operator of of like, how dare you question? How dare you? How dare you question the story? Bunch of crazy lunatic. And now is he really, smarter and wiser? And he's like, okay, well, I was dumb and I didn't, now I know more. Okay. I mean, that's fair. Or is he part of controlled narrative management? Bella says, I didn't learn about dustification of steel in free fall with no force acting on it in engineering school. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But you don't need, if you have eyes to look and see what happened and you go, wait a minute, how is that happening? These are radical, ideas, but the actual happenings themselves, the actual footage itself begs the question. Let's see. Tucker Carlson is calling out Alex Jones for calling 9/11 before it happened. And he's like, well, how did this guy know this is going to happen? Which, it's been a long rumored or, to some people known concept that Alex Jones is also controlled narrative or a CIA op or, narrative operator. That he's been here all along to lead people astray, to take people in. Oh, really? Take people in and then lead them to the wrong path. Bella says, if it were some kind of pancake collapse at the Twin Towers, it would have taken 2 minutes to collapse. I would say more than 2 minutes. I don't see a pancake thing happening. Like, even if it happened like they said it happened, I just feel like I see it taking hours or, several minutes. I don't know. Well, let's watch this. This is Alex Jones telling you about 9/11 before it even happened.
You can't call 9/11 in detail because you're super informed.
Before the fact.
He called it.
Yes.
He literally called it in the summer of 2001. He said planes will fly into the World Trade Centers and they will blame a man called Osama bin Laden.
We know the government's planning terrorism. We know Oklahoma City and World Trade Center was terrorism. We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners. If you do it, we're going to blame you because we know who's up to it. Or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. If any terrorism comes, it's from this government. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, and whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite.
He's saying it's
the boogeyman they need.
It's
a Orwellian phony
well.
system.
We know that he said that because he said it on tape multiple times. And then he said, call the White House and tell them this.
Now I'm going to put the call out that you call the White House and tell them, look, we've seen the news stories that you wanted to blow things up, that you have blown things up, and that we're aware of who the terrorists are if you pull this. This can stop this Hitlerian Reichstag event.
That's kind of wild. Reflect the Sun. Well, there were several eyewitnesses that didn't see planes. There were some that saw planes. There were some that didn't see planes, that just saw explosions. And consider the idea of mass psychosis being involved, right? Like mass, right? If there are people in the crowd saying, "I saw a plane," right? It could be plants. There's that famous interview with the guy who explained the whole thing in detail to the eyewitness. He was obviously a plant. He said, I saw the planes fly into the buildings and then they collapsed due to structural failure," right? Like that guy. So if you have a couple people on the ground saying, I saw planes, and all of a sudden everybody around goes, "Oh yeah, must have been planes," then maybe they believe that maybe they didn't really see a plane, but they're pretty sure it was a plane. I don't know. Right. Or if you saw the planes on TV, you saw the fake planes that they, keyed in to the TV feed. Well, then you knew it was planes. Then you absolutely know it's planes. I don't know. Can we find that? The guy, the 9/11 explain everything guy? What would be a good search for that? Where do we find that guy? Let's see. I don't know. It's not coming up very quickly. Not that I can see. Harley guy. Oh, thank you. Okay. Thanks, dude. This guy. Okay, this guy is a plant. Reflect the sun. Here we go. This guy will tell you everything about what happened while everybody's just walking around going like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I know exactly what happened." Anyways, here we go.
Dude, I live on the 43rd floor of a building which is 5 blocks from the World Trade Center itself. I witnessed the entire thing from beginning to end.
People talk about how it looked like a movie. I know when I came walking down here early this morning and saw both towers on fire and people on every street corner, it was like a movie, but you watched the planes hit the towers.
I was watching with my roommate. It was approximately several minutes after the first plane had hit. I saw this plane come out of nowhere and just ream right into the side of the Twin Tower, exploding through the other side. And then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense.
Obviously, there were
so he knew how
people
they came
inside
down.
the buildings at the time.
From the 7th precinct, the 1st precinct, the fire department right here, the 7th truck, those guys are all right there at ground zero when those things went down. And God bless, I know there's a lot of guys there that were around there, and hopefully they made it out.
What was happening around you, in the streets around you, as this was all going down?
Absolute pandemonium. From my viewpoint up 43 floors, I could see people running like...
Okay, I just wanted to get him saying, I saw the planes, and I know why they collapsed. I can tell you everything about why they collapsed right now, right after it happened. It just happened. And he is very confident. Anyways. Here's Tucker on Piers Morgan. I'm just playing this because this is kind of wild, because they really haven't allowed people to talk about 9/11 in a truthful way on mainstream media, like since Jesse Ventura, tried to do it, and they were just like, shut Shut Up Jesse. And that was a long time ago. And now on the BBC, Tucker is discussing it with Piers Morgan, which is somewhat of a transition.
To you though, Tucker, are the biggest lies perpetrated on the American people.
Let's see what he has to say
from 9/11.
Well, the core lie is the 9/11 Commission itself, which was an instrument, a political instrument of the Bush administration run by a guy called Philip Zelikow. And from beginning to end, he stage managed the explanation for 9/11 in a way that benefited the neoconservative factions within the Bush administration. The point was to leverage the pain and outrage of that day and use it to convince Americans that we ought to invade Iraq, which of course had nothing whatsoever to do with 9/11. And he wrote.
So he's not saying anything really groundbreaking
with that in mind. And by the way, he wrote it before the investigation took place. He literally sketched it out before they knew what the facts were. And then during the course of the investigation, he systematically, I'm not guessing, by the way, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is the testimony of people who are directly involved in the commission. Chairman.
That's right, Bella. He even says it exploded through the other side. So he covered up the television mistake. He saw the television mistake and was out there doing like narrative control for that. You know? Interesting.
And Tom Kaine, the former governor of New Jersey, Republican governor, he stage managed the entire thing and prevented investigators from looking into like core questions. For example, the CIA was fully aware that many of the hijackers who committed 9/11 were in the United States. They had followed them, as the trailer suggests, around the world. 11 out of the 19 hijackers had visas for travel to the United States issued in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, at exactly the moment that John Brennan was the station chief for the CIA in Saudi Arabia. They knew that they were here. They didn't hide the fact that they were here. I mean, Khalid al-Mihdhar, who was a 26-year-old Saudi, the plane that hit the Pentagon, was in the San Diego phone book, and he was being followed by the CIA. I mean, this is all documented, and not just by the CIA, by foreign intel services, probably the British, possibly the French, definitely the Israelis. They knew. Now, I'm not alleging that they committed 9/11, but I am stating, because it's a fact, that they were aware the hijackers were in the U.S. and were planning a terror attack against the United States, and they never passed that information to the FBI, to local police, much less to the...
He's kind of giving you like very basic info, but I mean, it's all pertinent.
The American public, and 3,000 people died as a result. So what is that?
All right, I'm going to move on to this other. By the way, CNN had an article, a very famous article that came out, I don't know, it was like 2003, that basically said most of the hijackers are still alive. How are they still alive? How is that possible? And they were all Saudi. So Osama bin Laden somehow made all this happen, but all those hijackers were Saudi. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay. We're gonna look at this. Remember, I was talking to. I've talked about Rebecca. So Rebecca Roth does really good work, and she actually, I think, is one of the biggest sources for the whole. You guys know about Gelatin, the Gelatin crew. There were Israeli art students that were in, was it Tower 1? And they had taken over a whole floor, and they had built all this. They had like, there's pictures of them with blasting caps and all kinds of stuff. Like, and they were in this floor where the plane hit, one of the floors that the plane hit, for, you know, a really long time before this happened. And she, you know, she was, I think she was one of the ones that originally was like talking about the Gelatin crew and so let's watch this from Methodical Deception, an Israeli art group called Gelatin. Come on, get to it.
Absolutely blow you away. I would like you, if you can do this on your computer, to go to methodicaldeception.com. And when you open that up, on the navigation bar, you'll see where it says resources. And you'll want to click on that resources. And then there's a big box that says about the Israeli art students at the World Trade Center. Click here. Click on that and tell me when you get to that page that has some photographs, because this is the elephant in the room that nobody wanted to talk about. And this is one of the documents, a 61-page DEA document that I went over and over and over and connected Israeli Mossad bomb experts to an art group that were traveling around the United States, and to an art group that gave themselves the name of Gelatin. So are you there? I'm there. So you got those pictures.
Look at these pictures.
Okay, now I'm going to take you to Dick Cheney. Just listen up.
Hold on. They're inside one of the floors of I think Tower 1.
You're looking at those pictures. Those are some Israeli art students that came from a foreign country, and their art project was called B Thing. They called their team the Gelatin group. And just so you understand this, gelatin is often referred to gelignite or blasting gelatin. It's also referred to as blasting jelly, but gelatin, and they later on changed their name because people started waking up to this. So they named their name Gelatin. They called their art project the B Thing, and you will see on the left-hand side a photograph of the title page of their book. And what the B Thing was, there was a group called the Lower Manhattan Cultural Center that was renting the 91st floor, or allowed to live on the 91st floor. These foreign art students, and some of them were connected to a group of traveling art students that were all over the country that the DEA found out about because they were going door to door to some of their agents' homes and their offices. And some of the offices were not public locations. So they were like, who are these people? There's Israeli students trying to sell us art. This was just a smokescreen. So you wouldn't go to where we're about to go. Now, the guy in the pink shirt, he's on the top right-hand side. Yep. Kind of a pink shirt on. He has repelling gear on. Yep. They removed a window. This was their art project. They put a wooden balcony out, and they had photographs taken via a helicopter that was rented by their sponsor from the Lower Manhattan Cultural Center. And that particular gentleman also had a big party to celebrate this event, and he rented part of the top floors of the Millennium Hotel. You'll remember that from 9/11, and who was there, the Bush relative, and took pictures and had a big champagne party watching this. Okay, look behind the gentleman in the pink shirt. You're going to see two big bold numbers. It says BB18. Those are fuse holders. Now look at all three pictures and look at how many boxes of plastic fuse holders that can be used for remote control demolition. And ask yourself, why would art students from Israel and Austria be having thousands of fuse holders? This building was built in the early 1970s. They weren't electricians. They weren't redoing all of the electricity in that building. You know, think about this. Okay, so I get this book out, I'm waiting for my shipment of books to show up, and I literally had a voice say to me, look into this. Those fuses, by the way, come from a company called Littel Fuse, Littel Fuse Company. They're located in Chicago. And some little voice said to me, take a look into this Littel Fuse Company, where all of those fuse holders behind those artists are. And now some of those artists are guaranteed Mossad bomb experts. And that's in the DEA document that you can read. So I find out that Littel Company is a subsidiary of a corporation called Tracor, Tracor. Now, Tracor, they went bankrupt and split their company. They were a government contractor. They split them off into Tracor Aviation, Littel Fuse, and Tracor Defense Holdings. They're based in Austin, Texas. They were bought out by Westmark Systems. Bobby Ray Inman was the chairman of Westmark at a point. Then Westmark kind of started losing it, and Tracor bought them back. Tracor bought out a company called Vitro, which used to be the Kellex Company. Let me tell you about Kellex Company. The Kellex Corporation was a wholly owned subsidiary of M.W. Kellogg, as in cereal, you know that guy, Kellogg Company. Kellex was formed in 1942 so Kellogg's operation relating to the Manhattan Project could be kept separate and secret. Kel meaning Kellogg and X meaning secret. The new company's goal was to design a facility for the production of enriched uranium through a gaseous diffusion technique. In gaseous diffusion, isotopes of uranium-235 could be separated from uranium-238 by turning uranium metal into uranium hexafluoride gas and straining it through a barrier material. Now, this is kind of interesting too. So for those of you who remember that originally the first responders were getting calls that there was a missile launched from the Woolworth building. The newly formed Kellex Company's original headquarters were in the Woolworth building in Lower Manhattan. I know, it's just another coincidence, isn't it?
It's wild.
They later on moved to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. But now the Kellex Company, you will know them
That's
today.
Crazy.
Here we are, fasten your seatbelts, as Halliburton.
Dick Cheney's on.
Hey.
There you go. I told you I was going to take you to Dick Cheney.
It's so I can't recommend her stuff enough. Like seriously, like if you're into researching some 9/11 stuff, go look up methodical illusion, methodical deception. She is really, listen, she ties these companies together in a really kind of amazing way. And like Palantir is in there, all these, Israeli companies, tech companies, all the way back then are all involved in 9/11, like in some capacity. It's crazy. Yeah, she's really good. She's really good, and she does not get enough. I don't hear people talk about her work that much, which is interesting to me because she does really good work. Like she does amazing work, and I just don't hear people like referencing Rebecca Roth that much. And I really think that you should. I think people should look at her stuff more because she kind of explains things in a way, in some ways, better than other people can. I like Judy Wood too, for sure. She was a stewardess. Yep. She has an idea about where the planes went because the planes did not hit the buildings. The planes were taken somewhere else, and everybody on board was killed. Like she goes into all that. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right. What else do we have? I mean, we're already late into the show. Let's do one more. I don't know. You got, it's 9/11. We can kind of we can just keep it loose and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. It is a very good deep dive. I really recommend it. All four of the planes were less than a quarter filled. Yes. Yep. Well, and you have to wonder too how many people got calls, right? Because what's the Israeli the messaging app? What was it? Obsidian or something like that? Basically, everybody got messages before 9/11 to not go into work, right? So many people didn't go into work, missed work that day. So the buildings themselves were not at full capacity, right? So you have to wonder how many people that were booked on those planes were probably told, like, don't take your flight today, right? Don't get on that plane today. I'm sure there were many. That's right, creative. Yep. Let's look at this. Greg Reese just put out something today. False flags and America's greatest ally. This is interesting. Here we go.
There were many involved in 9/11. The Pentagon, the executive branch, and the CIA, and several people with prior knowledge were heavily invested and made small fortunes when thousands were murdered that day by their own government.
Ooh.
And then there was Israel. The dancing Israelis who posed for pictures in front of the burning towers told the FBI that Israel now has hope that the world will understand us. The news media caught the same sentiment from a smiling Israeli girl on 9/11.
Well, big catastrophe, and I'm Israeli, and I hope that now people understand what we have to deal with, the kind of people that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Over 100 Israelis were arrested after 9/11. They were trained in military intelligence and explosives, posing as art students with fake IDs and infiltrating government buildings. And they were all let go, including over a dozen who were living in the World Trade Center as part of the World View's Artist in Residence program. They occupied floors 90 and 91, where walls were unfinished and structural beams were exposed. The same floors that American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into later that year. The U.S. government response to 9/11 was to destabilize the Middle East and to start viewing the American people as domestic terrorists. This is known as a false flag and often involves a government being complicit in the murder of its own people and then blaming it on an enemy as an excuse to justify war. This is what 9/11 was, and it's what 10/7 was. Israeli intelligence and the IDF had detailed knowledge of Hamas's plan weeks before October 7th. IDF units were moved from Gaza, where the attack occurred, just days before the attack. Israel's state-of-the-art surveillance system somehow didn't work that day, and hours went by before a proper military response.
I don't know what happened,
Every
man.
terrorist cell we know of
They just
seems to
overwhelmed
be
it.
associated with the CIA, Mossad, and MI6. 9/11 was blamed on CIA asset Osama bin Laden, and Hamas is no different. Netanyahu has made it clear on multiple occasions that he supports Hamas, and the evidence shows that they are also a creation of the intelligence agencies. A former director of Israel's intelligence agency, Shin Bet, says they helped Hamas hold power.
We did something very, very simple. We did everything in order to make sure that Hamas will go on controlling Gaza, and Palestinian Authority will control the West Bank, so they will fight each other. So what we did, with the permission of our Prime Minister, is to let Qatar to transfer a huge amount of money in cash, probably more than $1.4 billion, and to make sure that they will be able to send, people to work in Israel. And
just to answer Reflect the Sun's question, there were planes, but they did not hit there were actual planes that took off from the ground, but they did not fly into the buildings or fly into the ground or fly. They were taken somewhere else. So but they didn't actually. Does that make sense? So the planes were sent elsewhere, and then what you saw in the crashes was either not planes, like whatever crashed into DC, that was not a plane. Into the Pentagon, not a plane. Whatever crashed into the field in, was it Ohio? Not a plane. Or Pennsylvania? Not a plane. That wasn't a plane. So they basically swapped them out. So the planes took off, they took them somewhere else, and then whatever happened. But those planes that took off with those passengers did not fly into the buildings or fly into the ground or fly into the Pentagon. None of that happened.
To achieve or to get intelligence if they need. By doing it, we increase the power of Hamas.
And a former prime minister of Israel confirms this.
So are you saying Benjamin Netanyahu deliberately boosted Hamas to try to prevent a Palestinian state?
Yeah, sure. He deliberately and systematically even told, is on record, whoever wants to avoid the threat of a two-state solution has to support my policy of paying protection money to the Hamas.
Having helped to build up Hamas, Netanyahu has now vowed to destroy it.
Greg Reese reporting.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Good stuff by Greg Reese there. Okay, so really quickly, we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk and the fact that whatever happened yesterday, the story changed very quickly, right? Like it happened kind of when we were on the air yesterday. And all, right away people were like, it's the left, it's some hippie guy. It's, and I was like, don't do that. Very quickly, they figured out it was a completely different story. There was a shooter seen on the scene on the roof. Look at that. There was a private jet that took off from the Provo airport that turned its radar off very shortly. Private jet with the tail number N888KG turned its radar off 30 minutes into the flight. And people are wondering what the heck is going on. So very quickly, the story changed. And also, Michael Tracy is out there doing terrible journalism as usual, saying like, well, he loved Israel. Yeah, but he recently, listen, you may not like Charlie Kirk where he was coming from. I wasn't, I didn't watch Charlie Kirk. I wasn't like a Charlie Kirk person, but he was beginning to see things in a different way. He was beginning to kind of understand like, oh, the narrative that I was on, the thing I was on before was not the thing. And there's nothing more dangerous than somebody who has, kind of there's nothing more dangerous than someone who the establishment thinks can control a population in a certain way, and then suddenly starts to say, hey, maybe there's more nuance than I'm allowing for. Kind of like Malcolm X, right? Malcolm X, right, was very, militant black nationalist, right? But like he went to the Middle East, went on a Hajj, went on a pilgrimage and began to change his mind and have a little more nuance, and was thinking about things in a different way, and that was extremely dangerous. Then he was killed. And it seems that Charlie Kirk was having the same kind of moment where he was beginning to go like, well, I don't know, maybe Israel isn't, the greatest ever. And there was, one of the reporters for the Alex Jones show was saying that they thought that Israel was going to take him out. So there's a lot of information out there that adds a lot of wrinkles to the story. Anyways, Richard says, oldest play in the book, martyred by the powers that be to forward an agenda. Those who, yep, sure. After being lambasted by Fuentes, Kirk became a liability. Yeah, and there was a lot of, there seemed to be discussion about him, from him saying, I could become an enemy of Israel. They could take me out. They might not like me anymore if I start saying the things that I want to say. Do you understand? So that adds to the context of what's going on here. Literally 48 hours before he was assassinated, Charlie Kirk asked some critical questions. Listen.
And one thing a friend said to me, interestingly, which is, okay, Charlie, we've pushed back against the media on COVID, on lockdowns, on Ukraine, on the border, it's like, maybe we should also ask a question. Is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says, because I know I've been conditioned to ask a lot more critical questions over the last couple of years. So, Ben, some people would accuse Israel of wanting to ethnically cleanse.
Whoop. So anyways, there was a lot of discussion about him kind of taking in different views, and it certainly seems that with the information that's coming in about a shooter on the roof, that this was a, barely, whoever shot him was highly trained, et cetera, et cetera. And look at this. This is it gets weirder and weirder. There's a lot of footage coming out around what happened. So this is right before he was shot. There are guys behind him, like giving these like baseball signals. Look at this. This guy's tipping his hat. This guy is giving him like, steal first, and people have questions about this.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great. Do you know how many
right? So there's these guys making these weird movements behind him. By the way, I think Netanyahu tweeted like condolences. Right. He tweeted about the death of Charlie Kirk before it was even reported on U.S. media. So that is also a strange one, too. He's a third base coach. Yeah. He's pretty. Yeah. They're giving pretty good signs there. Anyways, man, there's more to come, I'm sure, with the Charlie Kirk thing. There's going to be a lot more to come, and they've even I think Fox News was already saying, okay, we're looking for the shooter, and this seems like it was a professional hit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, Charlie Kirk equals Building 7. Anyways, so last thing I'm going to show you is everybody has been pointing out that that Trump's speech about Charlie Kirk looks like a deep fake, and it looks like a deep fake. And so they're wondering, why is Trump why are they pushing out a deep fake Trump? Like them up, people. Like them up. Oh, if you like the show, if you want to support the show, you know how to do it. In the description box, there's lots of links. All the usual links are there: PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. So buy me a coffee, Ko-Fi, Patreon, Substack. So you can support me there if you want. On X, there's a link tree. So Epstein's ghost. Okay. Last thing we'll watch for today. Sorry, I can't do the 3 or 4 hour streams, and I probably should, but I keep my streams to about an hour. So we try to get in what we can get in about an hour, which yeah, I saw that too. Brian Connor, his shirt blows up and then blood. Yeah, I saw that. Hold on one second. Let's play that before we do this, because one more very odd wrinkle that I would like to show you to this story again, which, actually makes it even stranger, right? So here's somebody slowing down what happens, and I don't know what is happening to his face here. Do you guys understand what's happening here? But let's watch this. Something happens to his shirt, something happens to his face, then he's shot. I don't know. Do you guys, does anybody have any bead on what's going on with this? It is fake. What, the whole thing? The video, or what part is fake? Him getting shot at all is fake? Yeah, I just saw this before the show, this particular video we're looking at. But what I did see yesterday was that he was holding something in his mic hand. It looked like a blood, I don't know what you would call it, something with blood in it, in his hand with the mic. I saw that one too. So I don't know, man. It's really strange. His ring falls through his finger when so do you think this is a deep fake? You think this whole, but he's in front of people and he gets shot. So what's happening here? I don't know. Blood pack air pressured up. Okay, maybe. Not great video, but I don't see an entrance wound. Okay. Yeah, it's, there's something going on with this Charlie Kirk thing that, we don't know. We don't know everything yet, but like, there's going to be more coming out in the next 24 hours, I'm sure. His shirt turns into Redum. Yep. Okay. Whew, man, you guys, I don't know. This story has taken and I knew that it would, because it was happening yesterday during the show, and I was just like, this thing is going to go like, woo, all over the place. Taken in protective custody, probably, if it is a fake. So let's quickly jump over to the Trump fake, or the Trump deep fake, which is wild. Look, okay, so somebody caught this, and when you actually look at the real video, when you go down and look at the real video, you can see that his finger kind of does this weird disappearing, reappearing thing. So it looks like this is an AI video. Look at this. Is that weird? It's weird. It's mass psychosis, one of the biggest psyops of the year, probably. So look at that. Okay, so I'm going to play the real video, and once you've seen this, you can kind of see, you can catch it here. I think it's about
It was a
7 seconds. Wait.
All it was a
It's right here.
night
Here we go.
united in shock
See if you can
and
catch it
horror.
here.
Charlie was a patriot
You see that?
who devoted his united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot.
Yeah, that's where it happens. That's so freaky. But his face looks funny too. You can definitely see it. Yeah, his face looks strange. So it's not, this is not, that ain't Trump. That's not Trump, or that's AI Trump. That's definitely AI Trump, because his face, something about his facial configuration is not correct. His hair looks different too. Like the shape of his head looks different. Anyways. "100% AI," says Thrash Command. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
Who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom.
The background
and there's
is
never been anyone who was.
AI. Okay. Yeah. So strange. All right. Take it easy, y'all. All right, guys. Well, that about concludes it for me. That is my hour. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and thanks for the chats. Thanks for the comments, yo. He was wearing a bulletproof vest. Do you think? M. Robin? Okay. Okay. Anyways, y'all are cool. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. So come on back, and I'm sure there will be lots more to talk about. All right. All right. Until then, beware the bear.